There's a mitzvah say to sit in the sukkah for 7 days. And what is the value? What is the objective of sitting in the sukkah? L'man yedu doresechem, that all your generations should know, Ki b'sukkos hoshavtis b'nei Yisrael, b'otzios me'eretz Yisraelim, that the Jews, when they were in the desert, when they left Egypt, Hashem had put us in sukkos. So there's a question: what is the meaning of sukkos? Does it mean in booths, huts, or is the sukkos? It's referring to the Anei HaKavod. It's an argument among the Tanoim. One says it means huts. The other one says no. It's to commemorate the clouds of glory that protected us for 40 years. We were engulfed with this level of kedusha, of protection. So to commemorate that, we sit in the sukkah. So I always mention the Vilna Gaon in his introduction to Hilchos Sukkah. He mentions that, cites a Medrash. The Medrash tells us that why did we merit the Anei HaKavod in the Midbar, in the desert? Because Avraham Avinu, when he had hosted the Malachim, the angels, he had said, Hishano tachas eitz, you should rest, lie under my tree to be protected from the shade of the tree. So because he offered the shade of his tree to the angels, therefore his children merited the Anei HaKavod, which protected us from the elements and much more during this 40-year trek through the desert. That was the measure for measure. As you offer the shade of your tree, I will provide the protection of the clouds of glory to protect you for 40 years. So Avraham Avinu says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and what happens after 40 years? What happens after 40 years? He says, after 40 years, I have a mitzvah. The Sukkah Shema. The Sukkah will be the equivalent of the Anei HaKavod. That's the Medrash. And that's ours till the end of time. Mitzvah Sukkah. Simply you learn, L'man yedu doresechem ki b'sukkos hoshavtis b'nei Yisrael. What does that mean? Purely commemorative. We commemorate what happened. The Medrash seems to be saying it's more than commemorative. That he asked them, in the middle we had the Anei HaKavod that protected us. What happens after 40 years? I have a mitzvah Sukkah which takes over from Anei HaKavod. How does it take over? So evidently we see from Chazal, from the Medrash, that when we sit in the sukkah, although we're sitting within a physical enclosure, and to meet the criteria what sukkah is, the schach, whatever it may be, nevertheless, in terms of its significance, it provides the same level of protection. As the Anei HaKavod provided protection for us, identically, sitting in the sukkah for 7 days to commemorate the Anei HaKavod, they assume that status of Anei HaKavod, provide the same protection. The Gemara tells us that the walls of the sukkah and the schach, they have kedusha. Because it's similar to the Chagiga, just as the festival offering. When you consecrate the animal, it has kedusha. The sukkah has kedusha. Now the question is, how does it have kedusha? I mean, talis has no kedusha. It's called tashmishe mitzvah. It's something we utilize to perform a mitzvah. It has no kedusha. But there's a kedusha to the sukkah, which are the walls and the schach. Why is there kedusha? According to its Chazal, the reason why it's kedusha, just as the Anei HaKavod themselves, we were enclosed, engulfed with the Shekhinah, with the divine presence, and that's what offered us the protection. Identically, the sukkah, when you build it as a sukkah and you meet all the criteria of sukkah, it assumes that same value, and therefore the Shekhinah, it's considered the presence of the Shekhinah is there, and therefore as a result of that we have protection. We say in the Birchas Kriya Shema, Friday night, Ufros aleinu sukkah shlomecha. We ask Hashem, He should spread upon us the sukkah of peace. Now what's sukkah shlomecha? So it's cited in Halacha that the Arizal, that when he would say the words of Ufros aleinu sukkah shlomecha, he would stand at that moment. Why would he stand? Because that's when the Shekhinah would enter on Shabbos. What is sukkah shlomecha? What is the sukkah of peace? That is the Shekhinah, which is the equivalent of the Anei HaKavod. That's the sukkah which protects us. We're engulfed. with his presence, and as a result of that, we have all levels of protection, and that's shlomecha. Frosa leidu sukas shlomecha, the sukkah of your peace, which is the Shekhinah. And therefore, to acknowledge that, he would stand. This is the understanding. Normally, we have an argument, mitzvah shrichas kavana, mitzvah ain't shrichas kavana. But what is the meaning of mitzvah shrichas kavana? Mitzvah shrichas kavana is when you do a mitzvah, you should do it for the sake of the mitzvah, because God commanded us to do the mitzvah. However, the Mogen Avram says, although if one does not have this intent, it doesn't invalidate the mitzvah to anyone, but it's appropriate that when you sit in the sukkah, you should have in mind to commemorate the Anei HaKavod, to commemorate the clouds of glory, because that's the Manyedu Dorisechem. When you sit in the sukkah, you should know, all generations should know, Ki b'sukkah so shavti. That's an added intent you should have when you sit in the sukkah, and that's an enhancement of the mitzvah. Because Torah says specifically, that's what it is. So again, because that is what it is. So if you don't say it, that means here you sit in the Anei HaKavod, you're not acknowledging it. It's something which is totally inappropriate. Normally, we don't do certain things in other contexts. But the halacha is, in a sukkah, even, the Mishnah Berurah says, even Lashon, he says you should never speak Lashon Hara, but in the sukkah, especially not in the sukkah, you shouldn't speak Lashon Hara. But what's so special with sukkah? It's a hut which we're purely commemorating the Anei HaKavod. But we're saying, as we're saying, that the sukkah has an innate kedusha, which it does have a kedusha, as long as it stands. The walls of the sukkah have a degree of kedusha. Therefore, as a result of that, what is that kedusha? It's Hashem's presence is in the sukkah. So to speak Lashon Hara in the presence of the Shekhinah, it's a total disrespect. Therefore, he says one should be especially careful not to speak Lashon Hara in the sukkah itself. And what about speaking Divrei Torah ala shulchan, which one should speak words of Divrei Torah on the table when you're in sukkah, especially, even more than that. The Mishnah tells in Pirkei Avos that if you say words of Torah on the shulchan, it becomes a mizbeach. It's called the quiv of an altar. So if you have the mizbeach engulfed with Shekhinah, it's similar to the Beis Hamikdash. So even more so, it's an enhancement of the mitzvah. Therefore, it's an opportunity that we have 7 days we're in the sukkah. It's not just in whatever it may be, the ornateness and elaborateness of the sukkah with whatever you have today. You have everything provided for us when we build the sukkah, but it's the essence, it's the kedusha of the sukkah, which we're beneficiaries, which carries over throughout the year.